So there's a global pandemic. A virus is sweeping across our world. Still. And everything has changed. Why is this happening? Is the vaccine getting distributed fast enough? Will we ever reach herd immunity? Would you buy a mask with RGB lighting? If you haven't considered these questions yet, you will soon. And we'll be here with you to guide you on this journey and this descent into madness. Thank you for joining us on Staring at Goats.
That is right, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with another episode of Staring at Goats, the one show that you want to end that never will. We're going to continue reporting on this pandemic. I know there's been a little bit of distraction in the news lately, but I assure you, the Earth is still basically completely infected with diseases and danger and terrible things associated with this virus. And we're here to continue talking about it because, boy, oh boy, we love talking about the pandemic in these trying times. It's our favorite.
We do?
It's our favorite pastime now is to just sit around and chat about when the vaccine's coming, what the disease looks like, how many mutations there are, and watching the numbers skyrocket. Anyway, I'm your host, Stephen, joined as always by Jacob and Travis. And in need of checking something. Son of a butt! They said it's crispy again. All right, hold on, guys.
Holding on.
Jacob and Travis. I'm crispy in the recording. I'm crispy in the recording. That's not okay.
No, that's bad.
That's bad news. I tell you what. I'm gonna go upstairs. I'm gonna get my icicle. I'm going to come down, and I'm going to put that in place. I'll be back in just a minute.
Sure thing.
Are you going to stay live? Stay live. We could chat.
We'll keep them entertained.
Yeah, we can keep them entertained. Mellows, how are you? I hope you're doing
well. RGB lighting in a mask.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
Wait.
We're definitely going to get to that.
Oh, so, yeah. I had to put that in there.
With all the craziness going on, where does coronavirus and all things, coronavirus stack in the list of things that you're thinking about and worrying about on a daily basis?
The thing about it is it's still high on the list because I'm still not going out. In fact, that's part of what's been on my mind lately is this. I kind of want to save it, but I'm going to save that. But yes, it's still top of mind.
Okay.
Plus, it's a hell of a lot easier to think about and talk about the pandemic than some of the other crap going on.
So. Oh yeah, you aren't kidding. You aren't kidding.
How many goats do I have, Mellows? Well, I have no goats myself. But on screen behind me, there are a few goats. That is from the, I think it's the Simon Farm, SYMAN. Simon Says Farms.
Nice.
Is the stream that I found. They seem to be pretty consistent, keeping their live goat cam going. So
nice. So what did you were streaming last night? What did you stream?
So I was streaming. I was going to stream Zork Grand Inquisitor.
Okay.
Which I played Return to Zork on stream a few months back, and it's a sequel to that. But unfortunately, it's an older game, and it only plays in full screen at like 640 by 480 or something. So
it's just resolution.
It would take over my screen and be full screen for me, but then I caught what it looked like on stream, and it was this tiny little box up in the corner of the game. So I'm like, all right, that's not working.
Yeah.
So I switched over to Siberia 2.
Oh, nice.
Because that one I can at least hack and get it to run in a window.
Yeah.
So that I can blow that up and make that look good on the stream. So
there were a lot of people streaming last night, though.
Yeah, there were.
That was what I was surprised about. Because Steven was streaming, you were streaming. Who else was streaming? I think Adam of Geekheim may have been. No, I don't think he was.
Adam, Adam was, I think, for a little bit. I know
Adam was.
And then Tuesday, Night Attack is always on.
Night Attack was on, but then Kelly and Zafo were on with their 20 questions. With
yeah. Yep.
So I watched, it was like, where do I go? I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Well, and then Night Attack had a pretty big announcement on
what
the
was
show
their
last
announcement?
night. Jury is going to move to Austin.
Oh, there are
from
a lot
Oakland.
of podcasters that are moving to Texas.
That's what
What?
he said it last night on the show. So
Okay.
he said that he is planning to move in the fall. I mean, Schwood's got the 7 acre
Yep.
cult, not a cult, but cult
Yes. Not
compound,
the cult, but cult.
the not cult compound out there.
Yeah.
And so well, we'll see.
And then Joe Rogan just moved out to Austin.
Oh,
He
really?
moved from
Austin,
L.A. to Austin earlier this
Austin's
year.
been pretty big recently. And like in the last number of years, I know a lot of people have been moving there.
Okay.
My company's
Travis, when you
headquarters are
moving to
actually,
Austin?
believe it or not, I don't know. No, my company's headquarters are in Austin though,
There you go. See?
but I don't want to go work at corporate because then I have to wear a shirt and pants and go to an office. I'd
Well,
rather stay
I mean,
here.
I'm hoping that
That's
you're
that's
always wearing at least pants, or maybe at least shirt. I
How
don't know.
about
I hope
hey,
you're always wearing at least some clothing.
I have some clothing on, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
know. I
you could
feel
grow
like
your
they
beard out long enough to like just cover your
cover.
whole
Yeah,
chest,
hey
and then that
I
way.
always threatened to wear my kilt into the office, and then I never got a chance to.
can you guys hear me?
You're
There you
very
are.
quiet.
Very
That's
quiet,
okay. I can fix that. But you can hear me?
and you're a little
Blah
bit
blah blah blah.
crispy, but
Wait, is it a little bit crispy? Nothing's making sense. But okay, so I'm still it still sucks.
yeah,
Yeah,
you're
it's
All right,
not
crispy.
well
any
hold
better.
on. I'm not done yet. How
Well,
about now?
okay, so
Does that
you're
still suck?
Ooh,
no, that
that
sounds
sounds
good.
good.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay. You should see the Frankenstein operation I've put together. I have this giant
I
4-channel mixer sitting on my desk now. All right. Good gosh. All right. All right. Let's do this. Let's do this show. Here we go. We're going to start recording again in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're back from a break of sorts. But you didn't know that because you're an audio listener. But now you do. But we'd introduced ourselves, we'd said our hellos, and now it's time to really get into this thing because we're at half hour, a power level worth of show. We got to
We are.
get it done. Travis, you are the lucky winner this week of the round table roulette. You get to go first.
all right. Oh, so yeah. For me, the biggest thing recently is my cabin fever slash wanderlust is getting bad again. It seems to cycle every few months where I get this like I just want to go somewhere and do like I want to see something different than my house and my yard, and it yeah, it's just bad right now. But it's wrestling with the like I could afford to just hop on a plane and go somewhere, but I know that I shouldn't, and even though it would be easy to quarantine afterwards, I just, it's driving me nuts. So that's been kind of the thing lately
Well,
is I just need
hey,
to change the scenery.
you need to be able to get out and go. And when this thing's over, I think that you are going to be able to you are going to look at the world and you're going to go, "You know what? F it. I'm going to Paris."
Where
Uh
are we going today?
yeah.
It
Yeah.
may end up that way.
We're going to be wearing the world is carbon sandy Travis. Uh that's what we're going to be wanting. I know that's what we were talking about tonight, Stephanie and I, cuz she was like, "I really want to go this place or that place." I'm like, "We're going. When this is over, I don't even care anymore. Money be darned. Travel the
Ooh,
world, see the things, go the places cuz this has taught me like there's like we always hear you're not guaranteed tomorrow. Duh.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you're like totally not guaranteed. There are fates worse than death, and one of those things is being stuck inside, not being able to go anywhere. When you're
Yeah. Well,
dead,
I
you
look
don't
at
give
like
a crap.
a year ago this month, I had just spent a week in New York previously for work, and I was gearing up and getting ready for a meetup in Vegas with the Frog Pants crew, and I was getting plane tickets booked and hotels booked, and I was ready to go. And then it all fell apart, and I've been stuck. I love my house, but I've been stuck inside it since I bought it,
Yep.
and it. I just need something. I need something different. So between that and then the miniatures, the tabletop minis that I bought are now gonna maybe get here sometime in 2021. Who knows? It all depends on when they can get a shipping container. So, and you got Chinese New Year coming up, which makes shipping anything out of China take forever anyway. So it's like I don't even have anything to distract myself with. So
You and I are
I'll
both
make it.
on the same minis Kickstarter, I think. So we're both eagerly awaiting the Kickstarter minis that were supposed to be here at Thanksgiving.
Yes. Yeah. All
and
like 200 of them.
yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Well, you've had time to explore your house. Have you found the tiny door that leads to John Malkovich's brain yet?
I have not.
What
Okay,
I
about
think it
Keyboard
might
of
be in the
Narnia?
attic, which
Narnia. Yes.
I heard something in the attic this summer, so it might be up there. I
Okay.
was too scared to go.
Yeah.
Ah,
'Cause it was either an eldritch horror or a raccoon. I'm not sure which was the scarier option to find, and I just didn't feel like going up there. So
I vote Eldritch Horror. That seems like the
I'm
most
hoping.
most
I
likely
mean, I
thing.
would rather it be that because raccoon during the day means it's rabid.
Yeah,
yes.
So
yeah, true. Adam of Geekheim says you should start a podcast. I think that's a good hobby to
I
get
could,
into.
yeah.
You should
That's
start
not a bad idea.
start
Not a bad
considering
idea.
that. I got really nothing. The best news I have is my mom's got her vaccine, but that happened weeks ago. She's supposed to get her next one soon. My dad is asking around how to get one because Florida, I guess, is opening it up to greater age groups earlier. I don't know. He called the health department and they're like, "Yeah, you can come down and get one when we have them." Because I think the only way he's going to be able to go is health department.
Yep.
Um, so that's kind of what he's, and they use giant horse needles. So good luck to everyone going to the health department where they just get the cheapest possible needle they can find, which is basically a 1-inch PVC pipe. They're just going to ram into your arm at high speed.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
Telephone pole.
Starpoon.
yeah, good luck with that. I promise you will feel it. Uh, it's gonna be a wonderful experience. I think they're supposed to be. The government's
Yeah.
supposed to pay for them. They've already paid
They should be
Moderna
free
$1 billion to develop it, and then Moderna was like, "Well, we gonna charge a whole lot," and they were like, "No, you're not." And they won the Shkreli Award. I don't know if we talk about that on the show in our notes, but Martin Shkreli, the dumb butt a hole 500% price jacker guy.
The guy
Uh,
who bought the $20 pill and jacked up the price to 700.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind
Yeah,
of
that guy.
that's the definition of a D move. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's not a cool
Well,
thing to do.
I mean, in all fairness to Moderna, and I'm not defending them at all, but they've been working on this technology for 20 plus years.
Mhm.
They've spent billions of dollars into this research. They can't just all of a sudden give it away and not pull anything back to return for that billions of dollars worth of investment that they've had over the last 20 years. They've at least got to recoup that money.
Yeah, you're
And
not wrong.
so yeah, it sounds like an a-hole move, and you're right, it is an a-hole move. But at the same time, if you spend $1 billion developing something, Steven, and then somebody wants you to give it away for free, what would you say? Well, no, I don't have $1 billion to give away.
It's true.
So
Yes, of course
Yeah.
I would give it away for free, Jacob. I mean, look at
that's
me
right,
in my
baby.
position. We have a real problem here of judging by optics real harshly without putting much thought into it. I don't know where that came from, but it exists in our world today. Just wander into the echo chamber of Twitter. You've got plenty of people telling you what to think. Go
That's
dive
right.
Mhm.
in, have a blast.
Look, why
Uh,
do you think I can control the stock market the way I do?
you just go out there and you say things. Well, according to I think was it Ashley that said I control the basic sense of human decency in America because I was like
Yeah.
2020 is gonna be 2021 is gonna be great. Look at all the good things, and then like all hell broke loose all of a sudden. I'm like, sorry, my B.
So it's an inverse relationship, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah. Jacob can
Okay.
control what he wants. I do the exact opposite. Like, I think that's the fate of being an optimist right now. Is just whatever you think
Boy,
is
is it
happening,
ever.
it's worse.
You know,
But Jacob, speaking of economies and how you control them, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm going to skip the economy. I'm gonna well, I was going to not get political, but it's kind of borders on political a little bit. But I want to get back to the numbers again. I spoke about it last week during my roundtable, and the numbers are still just grim. I mean, we're having here in North Carolina almost 100 people a day die. We had 8,700 new cases, and for those of you guys who are listening, that's significantly more than what we had last week, and that's significantly more than what we had in April. So 15% of all tests are coming back positive. 15. 85% of our ICU beds are now full. 85%. So that means if you get out in your car and get in a car accident, then there might not be a bed for you at the ICU. So, the numbers are still bad, and the vaccine is rolling out. And that is one thing that I really have been keeping up with quite a bit is the vaccine rollout. And especially here in North Carolina. And we're in phase, what is it, 1B right now. So phase 1A was all the healthcare workers and um, basically all the doctors and the long-term care facilities and all of those staff members and residents. And 1B is 75 years and older, and then frontline workers. Phase 2 will be adults at high risk with some severe illness or multiple comorbidities. What was phase 3, Stephen? Students. That's what it was. Students will be in phase 3. And then in phase 4, it will be the rest of the public, right?
Yeah.
And so we're in phase 1B right now. And all of a sudden on Tuesday, the wonderful administration up in Washington decides upon high to issue new guidance to everybody rolling out the vaccine. And so for those of you playing at home, everybody knew the vaccine was coming. Everybody knew it. And so they spent months preparing how they were going to roll it out and who gets it when. And then at the 11th hour to have it changed, all of a sudden throws a monkey wrench in it. It throws confusion in it. It makes people go, hold on, wait, but you said, but now they're saying, and this is happening. And they're the administration in Washington is basically saying, okay, well, we're taking a data-driven approach and we're listening to the CDC. And thank you guys for listening to the CDC. Yes, 65 years and above are at higher risk. We've been saying that since day one. That did not change. Your original guidance was 75 years old. You changed to 65. We've been talking about high risk candidates being at 65 since the beginning. So I don't understand why they made the decision to make 75 the normal and then go back during rollout and say, no, not 75, 65. I don't even understand it. It feels like an Office episode. What was that one Office episode where he was talking about the vasectomy? Snip, 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 snip. Do you know how painful 3 vasectomies are?
The dinner party.
I feel like
it's a good episode.
Yeah, that's what it was. Dinner party. That's what it was. But I feel like that's where we're at right now. And I've fielded so many questions in the last 2 days about, well, I'm 65. Does that mean I can go get it? And I'm like, well, no, not yet. I said North Carolina hasn't gone to change those guidances yet because they just came out on Tuesday. So we're reacting to another on fire event that was artificially put up now. So I'm struggling with that a little bit, but we're actively going through this whole process of trying to get a family member vaccinated ASAP. And I've had pretty good experience so far. I mean, we have the Duke healthcare system close by. We have the UNC healthcare system close by. We have Wake Med healthcare system. We have the Wake County Health Department. So we have 4 options. And I got to tell you, every option that we found has had appointments. Some of them a little further out. Some of them are a little closer. But the one thing I did find out was in the most appointments are available in the rural areas. And I think there's a pretty clear correlation between the lack of trust in the rural areas that's present in the rural areas and the quantity of appointments that are now available in those rural areas. And so now it's kind of forced the Department of Health and Human Services to start doing things like making new videos and trying to get out to glad hand people to encourage them to take it, and buying ad time on television to try to put up these videos. And they've created these pop-up tents for drive-by clinics where you could just drive in and get your vaccine. And all of these are slated to happen in these rural places, all because of the distrust that these places I feel like have. And,
do you think it's distrust, or are you dealing with the redneck quotient, where people have either had it already because they were too stubborn to wear their mask, or they just don't flip and care because they're just not worried about it? So why would I rush to get a vaccine that I don't really care about I mean, it's the character of the people in the areas. They're tougher than nails. What do they need a vaccine for?
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely think redneck quotient.
Yeah, I mean,
I was just gonna say, like,
yeah, as a
the answer to
redneck,
that question is just yes.
as come from a family of rednecks, I feel like I'm allowed to discuss redneck toughness. When it comes
Mhm.
to whether you go to the doctor or not, your foot's falling off. Maybe you go, you
Yeah.
know, maybe you duct tape it back together. It's just I think that's probably largely why the reason you have it. You're in these city areas where people are more dense, more there's not as much of a small town. I know that guy. I know he got COVID kind of feel.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
as there is here. Here we're like, I don't know anybody. I don't trust anybody. I gotta go get me vaccinated as quickly as possible. They're not
Right.
in a hurry out there, man. They're like,
Yeah.
when's that doctor gonna come by and sit next to me while I'm on my tractor and stick me?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's a good point.
Yeah, it took 3
Yeah.
stomach aneurysms to get my grandpa to think about think about going to the hospital.
Yeah.
Um, that's just they don't roll that way, man. They just
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
But no, that's good. Thank you for the data, Jacob. That's really important to have. So, 65. That's a new thing, unless
That is a new
until
thing.
it's not a new thing, but it is. You think?
Well, it's not really a new thing. It's
No,
really
of
an
course
old
not. Yeah.
thing because from the beginning we had always said 65 and older were the ones at a high risk. And then when the guidance came out from Operation Warp Speed, they said 75 years old. And
Yeah.
so everybody immediately changed to 75 years old. And now they're going, oh, no, 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 no. Go back to 65.
Yes. Yeah, and
Okay.
I also wonder like the 75 rule first, is that cuz the limited quantity of vaccine and maybe a supply
Mhm.
and demand kind of artificial limiting system,
Yep.
to get the vaccines out. So there could be a lot at play. Um
Look, I was not upset whenever they said 75. I feel like they actually prioritized who was experiencing the worst of this pandemic, right? It generally age was a factor, and so let's go with the oldest of our population and let's get them taken care of, and then let's work our way back to who's least vulnerable, right?
yeah,
So I
that
was
is
perfectly fine with the transition to 75. It's just during the middle of the rollout, when you are vaccinating 75 and above, to come out and say, no, we were just kidding, not really 75. Let's do 65s too.
yeah.
That's what I think I have the problem with.
Yeah, I have more questions, but I also want to get into the news because we've got a good deal of news because I could talk about this an ongoing based on conversations that I've had with people around vaccine rollout. But I'll try to
Well,
remember
let's
maybe at the end of the show.
let's talk
Um,
about it because we can probably pull in some of the news because
yeah,
yeah,
we
a
can
couple
roll
of the
through it.
articles are really quick.
Well, okay, so here's the question: the hyperspeed. So
Uh-huh.
Biden administration comes out, says we're going to go ahead and release everything we got now.
Yep. Yep.
Trump administration follows shortly after and says, "Hey, we came up with this new idea. We're going to release everything we got now." Honestly, I think they both had the same information. It was just who made the call when. I don't feel like it's petty enough to be like, "We're going to do it because they said they would do it." Might be, who can say? But I'm going to choose to
Put
believe that it
nothing
was
past it.
just. Yeah, I'm going to choose to believe that the data just supported it and they finally just said, "Good idea." Um,
Yeah.
is there concern for supply chain if they do put out all 100 million doses? I'm using that roundabout figure I've seen a few places, and they get 100 million people single vaccinated, which I don't think is likely to happen. Is there a better chance that those 100 million, a portion of them just go stale because they can't get people to get them? Um, I guess that's a lot of questions, but and I'm not
Woo.
after the answer as much as the thoughts behind.
So I do have a response to the whole Biden Trump releasing them. I feel like Joe Biden wanted that to happen, right? And Joe Biden kind of played Trump like a fiddle because Joe Biden was like, well, on day one, I'm going to do this. And Trump's like, oh, bullshit. You ain't getting credit for that. Fuck you. I have worked my ass off on this. I am going to take credit. Release the hounds. That's what I feel. And then Joe Biden's like,
Got him.
got him to do that. Yeah, baby.
Got him.
Yeah. But I do feel like, I mean, it's, they're making this in mass quantities right now. Is there a risk? Yeah, I definitely think there's a risk. There's also a strategic strategic reserve risk, because there's always been a need to keep a strategic reserve, right? Um, so yeah, that's another risk. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the risk of going bad is necessarily as bad, because theoretically where they're being stored or where they're going to be shipped to, they're going to have the facilities to be able to receive them, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not just going to be a release to the general public and open up some refrigerators and throw them in there and pray that they get used.
Yeah.
I hope that it would be more coordinated than that.
Yeah.
I
And
thought
then,
there
I
was
mean,
some of I thought there was some risk or some issue with doses already going bad or something. Was that just
probably hype.
played up or hyped?
I have not heard
I
that.
mean,
I
I
did
honestly
hear.
don't know.
I I mean, obviously, we talked about the Wisconsin thing last week, where
Mhm.
the Aurora Health issue. But outside of that, I don't think I've heard too many about um, it going bad. If somebody in the chat has, I'd love to hear about it, because I
Okay.
don't know if I've heard it.
I think we're getting to the point too where we can see more how states are doing it. Like West Virginia's completely done with long-term care
Yeah.
facility folks. Like their rollout has actually been pretty successful. And I think there's states where the rollout's just been absolute crap. And maybe not American states, but I believe it was somebody, Lloyd Hannison from the Nerd Nest group of podcasts, posted something today about a government in Manitoba, Canada, was just like rolling around, unable to figure out how to get everything moving. So there's
Mhm.
like, I'm sure that depending on your local government, there's going to be success stories and there's going to be absolute critical failures somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, Depending on where you live, you're going to get a different response, and that's the virtue of having 50 states. There's federal government, then there's state government, then there's county government, then there's city government. Um, your state's in control of your health department. So hopefully, if everything's going out that way, they've got some sort of rollout plan. But I mean, who knows? Rhode Island should be done by now. There's like 8 people there.
Yeah.
I don't know
And
if they're done, but
yeah, but they probably got like 2 vaccines if there's 8 people.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. They had to split it up. I don't know. I'm just, hey man, all I know is my arm is ready and come and get me. So I don't
Roll
care.
up my sleeve.
Yeah, we can
Oh,
play
I'm
darts.
ready.
Yeah, let's do this thing. Well, let's thank you for filling us in there, Jacob, but we're going to get on to the old isolation report where Steven tries to play the music and it doesn't work cuz nothing else in his life is working right now. It's fine. I can fix it. I've got it. I'm going to play that music. You guys are getting it whether you like it or not. Here it comes. Shaboom. All right. Razer's Project Hazel is a translucent face mask with RGB lighting. Yes, Razer, the company that makes your gaming keyboards, mice, RGB light kits, RGB gamer mouse pads, RGB monitors, RGB laptops, RGB all the
RGB
things.
everything.
Everything. The PC Master Race now has a mask of its own, unveiled at CES 2021, held virtually and boring for literally everyone who wants to tune into it. The Razer Hazel Mat is a mask made for the gamer and all of us. You really need to see the pics because it's pretty astronaut worthy. But the description says it's an N95 mask with 2 rechargeable active ventilators, providing bi-directional filtration. The ventilators are decorated with a circle of RGB lighting so that people can see you better while you're wandering around at Walmart in the dark. The mask comes with a UV light box that also charges when your mask is not in use. That's cool. Put it in a box, it charges, and it lights up your mask. Clean it. Pretty neat. It also has a see-through
like that.
screen so people can see you talking, smiling, grimacing, or muttering angry insults at anti-maskers under your breath. My hope is we don't need these for very long, but if the mask trend in Western society sticks around, like Lando says it will, I'll be happy to wear my super RGB 144 hertz, 120 FPS, 1440p RTX Razer gamer mask. Uh, to be fair, though, Razer did a really good job at the beginning of the pandemic turning their supply lines into mask creation uh, machines, and I think they deserve credit for that, despite this being somewhat goofy. Um, they really knocked it out of the park, and I think we owe it to them a little bit for being one of the companies that really pushed to make their supply lines make stuff that we needed when we needed it. I think they even did ventilators too,
Yeah.
which is pretty
Mhm.
cool.
Steven, you know who else we need to give credit to?
Who's that?
Landon.
You know it.
I mean, Landon called all of this relative to the mask. So every week we
Oh,
talk about new updates relative to masks, and every week I'm going, Landon really got that shit right. I mean, he hit the nail on the head.
he did. It was like first or second episode. I remember him saying, "Look, masks are going to become like a status symbol
Yeah.
and a social thing," and he's not wrong.
Yeah.
No.
And what I do think we're going to see more adoption of mask wearing, especially in cities similar to what you see in Asia, right? It's much more common there. You're going to see that more commonly in the states. There's
Yeah.
still going to be a ton of people that'll never do it
Yeah.
because they're children and they just don't want to. But you'll
I
see
th-
more of it, and this would be a mask that long term I could see myself wearing one of those if I needed it
yeah.
for any reason.
Sure.
What I think is interesting is 5 years ago, if I would have, I mean, I flew everywhere over the last couple of decades with my
Mhm.
job. But if I see people with a mask on, I immediately go, huh. And I look at them with a questioning eye. I think from now on, if I see somebody with a mask, I'm like, all right, I know you. I got you. I
Mm-hmm.
understand who you are. Um, uh, and I don't think I'll have nearly the same reaction and the same response. But 5 years ago, yeah, if I would have seen somebody with a mask, what would you have said? You would have said, what in the world? Either you're sick or you're a germaphobe.
Yeah.
Right. You would think of him as a germaphobe because that's what that's what we're conditioned to in our culture to
Yeah.
see. But I would always like anytime I was in a major airport, not my airport because there's like 4 people in there at any given time, but like O'Hare or LaGuardia or JFK or something when I'd be traveling for work. And I would see it wasn't a lot of people, but you would see the occasional person. And that was the first thing I thought is, oh, it's a germaphobe, just doesn't want to get sick. Because let's face it, air travel and airplanes and airports are havens for it because it's a bunch of people packed into a small area.
Yeah. What was
Oh,
the airline this week that got certification that basically they have hospital grade cleanliness? Was it
oh
United?
dang.
It was either
I
United or American Airlines, one or the other.
I think it was United, but I can't remember now.
Zafo may know this, but yeah, there was one that actually got a certificate saying, "Yep, you're as clean as a hospital."
United Airlines, first major
It's
carrier
United.
to
Okay.
earn a hospital grade cleanliness certification.
Yeah.
And from what I've read about airplanes, because there was a lot of concern about that initially, is that airplanes have pretty great filtration systems in their cabins.
Yeah, they
For
turn over 22 times an hour, I think.
yeah, it's
Yeah, it was
it's
like I never worried about the air filtration so much as it's the whole idea of everybody packed into the tube and you're
sure.
close to people so much.
Yeah, they
And
said that you're
and
more likely to pick it up from wandering around the airport than actually in the airplane,
Yeah.
I
which
could
I
see
thought
that.
was kind of fascinating because it is a larger space, but the ventilation in there has probably been the same for the last 50 years. Whereas the airplanes, they're used to conditioning air. If you're going to get sick, you're going to get sick from sitting in the same chair some sick guy sat in and wiped his snot
Yeah.
all over the armrest. And
Yeah.
and I
Mhm.
thought that was actually kind of eye opening. I had never considered it that way. Um, but yeah, cool. Jacob.
Yeah, man. So real quickly before I hit on other travel plans, Word Man and Zafo are having a discussion in chat that I wanted to at least hit on before we moved on. I think you're both correct. The elderly is definitely the ones that I think we need to take care of. So Word Man, I completely agree. But Zafo, you're right as well. I mean, the long term effects of this pandemic and this virus are not well known, and some of the brain issues and some of the blood clotting issues and some of the lung capacity issues. And there are a lot of things that are going to be long term studies um, that are going to come out of this. And yeah, should we prioritize 40-year-olds versus 70-year-olds just because they're the ones who are going to be out and about? Man, that's a great question. I don't think I have a good answer for that. But I definitely understand why we chose 70, 75. And I think I see your point, Word Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, the old elderly we kind of need to take care of because yeah, they're the ones that are really seeing the effects of this. So I don't know what your two takes are on it, but yeah, I kind of agree with you both.
I think Wordman I think is in the healthcare field.
Hmm.
So he's got some leg to. I mean, not to say he wouldn't have any leg to stand up if you're saying stuff, but I know for a fact that he's got some firsthand experience for sure there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that is an interesting theory. If I if you're in the you probably won't die category, but you're very mobile, you're more likely to spread it to everybody. So that's a pretty interesting take. I'm down for it
Yeah,
because it means I get the vaccine. Let's
yeah,
go.
that's right.
I
You're like
want to go
rolling my
home.
arm. I want to go, baby.
I want to go home.
Yeah.
I want to go Florida. I want to go Dragon Con. Get me going.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so I'll quick move on to the next one. We are on the brink of utter collapse. That is what yellow cab drivers in New York City are saying as the pandemic rages on. For Augustine Tang, that's an awesome name, Augustine.
Yeah,
That's pretty
man.
cool. Anyway, driving a cab was a way to carry on his father's legacy, who died unexpectedly in 2015. Coronavirus pandemic has turned his taxi into a burden, which is the sentiment shared by thousands of other cab drivers in New York. Their comments are it's a ghost town. Ridership is down 80 to 90% since March of 2020. Drivers are lucky to find 3 passengers per shift. Majority of Manhattan workers, both not only workers but students, tourism, all of that has been either working from home or slumped. Ride sharing platforms such as Uber and Lyft have been saturating the streets. So they've been taking those riders away from the yellow cabs. So essentially, they're putting yellow cabs completely out of business. Blah, 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 blah. Drivers have been among and on top of this, drivers have also been the people that are most exposed to COVID. One of the executive directors of the New York Tax Workers Alliance basically said is we've lost so many drivers. For many who have stopped driving, federal unemployment checks become the new source of income. However, when those ran out over the summer, some drivers like Tanning had no option but to return to driving a taxi. At 36 years old, thinks he's less at risk of catching the virus, but yet there's anxiety there. In December, Tang said a driver had frequently came with him to his taxi stand died from complications of COVID-19. So taxis, if you're going to New York City, you may have to download the Uber app because they may not exist when we come out of this.
This
Yeah,
is
it's
a
gonna be tough.
tragic story because I like Uber and I like Lyft. I think they're cool services and they were smart. They were an app on your phone before taxis could wrap their head around what smartphones needed to be. You know, they still wanted people calling them, "Come get me."
Yeah.
Mhm.
This Uber they disrupted an entire industry in a pretty
They
wild
did.
way, but they made it so much cheaper than riding in a taxi. I went to San Francisco and I prefer a taxi. I'm not gonna lie. I think they're great. For one thing, the drivers are knowledgeable. They know those
Yep.
streets like the back of their hands. You can't always
Mhm.
guarantee that with a Lyft or Uber drivers. They're most
No.
of the time following their GPS on their phone. But if I tell a taxi driver where to go, I would got in a taxi with a guy from Boston. Sat in that taxi. He drove me through the weirdest alleyways to get to where I needed to go. But we only stopped at a light like twice. We were trucking. And I'm like, this
Yeah.
was amazing. I'll do that forever. But San Francisco, $35 for the taxi, $12 for the Uber.
For the Uber.
Same
Yeah.
route, same distance, same locations. You can't
Yeah,
compete with
and
that.
I mean, so much of that is wrapped up in the fact that you have to go through so much more to become a taxi driver, a medallion, like in New York City, the
Yeah.
medallion system and all of that. And that's where a lot of that charge comes from. I as a former taxi driver, I can attest to some of that. Now, where I'm at, we didn't have much, we didn't have a super strict regulation behind it, but yeah, it definitely disrupted things. I just wish I would have, when I was driving cab years before Uber existed, had actually done what I said, which is I need to make an app that people can get a hold of me directly. But I
Yeah.
didn't do it, and Uber did it instead.
I got to tell
Ride
you.
Travis.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
RideTravis.com.
That sounds a little kiki, but no,
Wait, what?
Travis,
Does
you've
it?
done
that's the wrong kind of
everything.
website.
That's the
I
wrong
have done a
kind of
little bit
app.
of everything.
You have really done a lot of app. I think I was Steven on this one. I would choose a taxi in a major city any day of the week over an Uber if money was not a big deal.
Hmm.
Um, you get better service, you get better communication, you get faster rides. You get more knowledgeable taxi drivers. They're more willing to chat with you and tell you about the city, and that chances are they've been there for years and years and years. So I've always had the best luck in major cities with taxis as
Yeah.
Mhm.
opposed to Ubers. Ubers, I've never had great luck with in major cities. In smaller cities, always had great luck with Ubers.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. You're always hit and
Um,
miss too, man. Taxi drivers will let you sit there if that's what you want to do.
Yep.
You sit there, but in Ubers, man, you never know. You can ride up front with me if you want. Come on, ride up front with me. And me being the Southerner that I am, yeah, sure, okay, sounds great. It doesn't. I don't want to. I want to ride in the back.
No.
Look at my phone.
mhm.
Anyway,
Yep.
So hey, Dollar General is actually paying workers to get COVID-19 vaccines. Dollar General Corporation is offering employees a deal. Go get a COVID-19 vaccine and receive 4 hours of pay. So figure whatever minimum wage is, they're probably making around that, maybe a little bit more. It's not too bad. The
Hmm.
retailer, which has 157,000 employees, is among the first large U.S. employer to incentivize staff to be vaccinated, a sign that companies with essential workers see mass inoculation as critical to overcoming things. The company added that it is working with their distribution and their transportation teams as well. So they're not just doing the hourly workers in the stores. And it's not a mandate. They're not requiring all their workers to do it, but they're encouraging them to. And this is one way to encourage that, is to give them a little bit of a monetary incentive. I kind of like the idea. If you're a company, especially a company that size, and you can afford to do that,
Hmm.
um, it's going to help. It does nothing but good, and it's good PR.
yeah.
So here's a question: would you rather lose an employee for 2 weeks as they're in quarantine and as they take time off, or would you rather give them 4 hours of pay and potentially another hour to take off to go get a vaccine? So potentially up to, let's say, 5 hours of pay. In
Yeah,
my
I
mind,
mean, you're
this is
talking
a no-brainer for corporations, and everybody should follow in Dollar General's footsteps. Kudos to you, Dollar General.
right. You're talking less than $100 versus losing somebody for up to 2 weeks or
Right.
more.
I mean,
Just kudos to Dollar
Just a
General.
no-brainer.
they're talking about their distribution teams, their warehouse teams, and stuff too, which make more than that, more than just
Yeah,
their standard clerks. But at the same time, you're right. 2 weeks of losing somebody completely who may have spread it to 5 other employees that you're going to lose.
Yep.
You're absolutely right. This is everyone should do this. I bet Tractor Supply is next. You're going to read Tractor Supply gives their employees COVID vaccine,
Yep.
or money
yeah,
for
I could
to
see
go
that.
get it. Those are like the two brick and mortar stores that are actually growing in the U.S. It's Tractor Supply and Dollar General.
Yeah.
Uh, Good reason
I
too.
could
You
also see
can't.
Costco doing it, but
Yeah,
Costco is a company that treats its employees really well.
yeah,
Yeah,
So I
they
could
completely
they
see
do
different.
them
well.
That's right.
going through that.
Yep, the best meal in America, baby. $1.50, hot dog and a Coke.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Uh,
right.
it's the best meal in America. There's a good story behind that. I won't tell it here, but I'll tell it another day. Next story up, we've got the U.S. will require a negative COVID test for inbound international travel. Mark of the beast. You can't go anywhere without the vaccine. You can't buy bread. Um, that's not really what I believe. Since the U.S. has basically kicked COVID-19, and the main threat is coming from foreign countries, starting on January 26, people that come to the greatest country on earth will need to have tested negative for COVID-19 within 3 days of their travel. That's right. We can't have those dirty foreigners coming in spreading their COVID all over our beautiful, clean country with no COVID. Uh,
Yeah.
Redfield, Director Robert Redfield said in a news release, testing does not eliminate all risk, but when combined with a period of staying at home and everyday precautions like wearing masks and social distancing, it can make travel safer, healthier, and more responsible by reducing spread on planes, in airports, and at destinations. If you want to avoid dealing or having to deal with the basic protection of the people around you, Delta is waiving the difference in airfare if you want to move your February visit to sometime before January 26th. How nice of them. Good job, Delta. Thanks for making it easy to skip this rule. This is asinine, stupid, and I hate it. For one thing, we're the most infected country on the planet. One of the most infected countries on the planet. And the idea that we're trying to keep people from coming in and bringing their infection with them is stupid. If I go to Walmart, I'm more likely to get infected than someone coming from UK. Like,
Yeah.
this is ridiculous, and it's just to further the whole point that this is a foreign virus that's invaded our country. There's no such thing as a foreign virus. We're humans, you bunch of buttholes. We spread viruses. That's what we do. It is our operation. We are hosts for bad things. And it doesn't matter if you're in China or you're in Russia or you're in South Africa. You are a human. You are a meat sack that is a host for gross viruses that you then go spit on other people. And I'm done with this nationalistic vibe to dealing with a pandemic. That's okay. I'm sorry. I'm done now.
So, Stephen, I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
Um, do you think this is because the U.S. feels like we're trying to be nationalists and this is an outside invader? Or do you feel like it's in response to every single other country doing the exact same thing to every other country?
It's probably the same thing. It just has
Oh,
that vibe. If it was
it
any
does have that
other
vibe. Yeah.
time at any other administration with any other group, I would consider the science. But
Yeah.
you can't help but feel these undertones,
Yeah.
whether they're there or not, they exist in my subconscious. I'm like, meh,
Well, the
undertones.
only reason why I say this is because I just got a phone with a friend of mine this today, and we were chatting about they're going on vacation next week, and they're taking their kids to Turks and Caicos, and they're they had to go get a COVID test. They had to have it 3 days prior to when they're leaving, so they had to go yesterday to get their COVID test. They get the results today. They have to present it to the government of Turks and Caicos by Friday so that they could take a plane on Saturday. If they do not present the negative COVID test, they won't let them in. And so, regardless of whether they have a passport and they've paid for a ticket and they get there, they will turn around and send them right back.
Wow.
So it's not just us requiring it from other people. I mean, you're talking about a Caribbean resort, an area that is known for tourism that's asking for these documents. It's not like Russia and China and the EU and other major countries that are worried about the spread. This is even the tourism countries are getting on board with this. So, yeah, to me, this is less of a this is more of an overall travel across the world type of presentation. But maybe I'm wrong there.
I just wanted to fly off the handle, Jacob.
Let
That's
him have
I
that.
know that there's reasons, but I just wanted to fly off the handle and get upset. I'm really more at Delta than anybody. Like, what the
Yeah,
devil, Delta? Come on, like
yeah.
you're gonna be like, oh, we gotta protect the nation, but we're gonna go ahead and let you move your date if you don't want to protect the nation. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's stupid. It's stupid. I don't know. I'm done. I'm done with the virus. You're right. Stop the spread. Stop the travel. Protect yourself where you can. Ingress into a country is one of the ways to do it.
Speaking of lack of ingress, Australia, their scientists raised doubts over whether the AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine can deliver the herd immunity that we so desire. Australian scientists have raised questions over the efficacy of the AstraZeneca COVID 19 vaccine in establishing herd immunity, calling for a pause on its widespread rollout as the country recorded one new coronavirus case on Wednesday. One,
One.
not 250,000.
One.
One.
Yeah.
The opposition to the vaccine cast a cloud over Australia's immunization plans with 53 million doses of AstraZeneca's jab on hand. The question is really about whether or not it's able to provide herd immunity. Thank you, redundancy. We are playing the long game here. We don't know how long it will take. So basically, they're saying, okay, we should get a different vaccine in here, one that's more efficacy. Experts, including Turner, cited data that showed AstraZeneca's jab had a 62% efficacy compared to over 90% for the Pfizer and the Moderna one. So this 62% I've heard thrown around a lot, and I pulled the data, and they're right. It is 62% in one group of people. Two people that if you get two standard injections of their standard doses of their vaccine, the efficacy is at 60%. But if you get a low dose first and then follow it up with a standard dose, the efficacy goes up to 90%. Granted, it's much lower numbers. I think overall, if you look at the efficacy, it's about 70%. But I think what they're doing is they're transitioning their trial to actually look more at this low dose first to generate this initial response and then give a standard dose instead of two whopping doses. So stay tuned. AstraZeneca's may be good, just as good as Moderna's and Pfizer's. But right now, if you look at just the sheer numbers, yes, you're at 62. I think if you combine them, you're at 70. But they do have a path to get to 90%. very similar to Moderna or Pfizer. But again, this is still about research, man.
Mhm.
This is why we do research, is to understand whether or not we do need two of the same dose, or whether we need one smaller dose or one larger dose, or two larger doses, or whatever. I mean, that's the whole point of research. So the general public just gets to take a look under the hood a little bit.
Yeah. Well, awesome. And speaking of Aussies, that's not a vaccine. That's actually more British. So anyway, I got a buddy from Australia who I managed to talk to today because they're in daylight savings time, being the summer, and I wanted to share, since we talked about Australia, his experience of COVID-19 down under in a land where it hasn't ravaged the whole thing. So I'm just going to kind of read you what he sent me today. He said COVID-19 here has been generally respected as a threat to public health and safety. He said there's a usual small group of people who don't believe in it or whatever, but the large percentage of the population has been okay with quarantine and health precautions such as social distance, masks, and hand sanitizing. He said, I think the key thing here is that it hasn't been a political football. All politicians have generally respected the advice of their medical officers, and the federal government brought in big spending programs to help people that had become unemployed. He said, on a personal note, I feel very fortunate. He said, I have a good job. It's kept going through the pandemic. I work for a company that makes working from home easy and gave the order early. He said, I have a lot of hobbies that I can do without going and seeing anyone else in person. It's good for your social psyche, I guess.
Mhm.
Says he does have nieces who've lost jobs. His cousin works for a hotel. They were really hit hard by travel restrictions. Says he really understands the pain that people who've lost their jobs are feeling. But he also later on in our conversation alludes to the fact that conservative governments also come in and are pretty hard on people who don't have jobs. There's the you don't have a job because you don't have to want to work kind of attitude that he says has been kind of damaging. But for the most part, it seems like they're doing okay, largely because they respect the evidence, and it hasn't, like here it became a political football almost instantly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there they were fortunate enough to avoid that and just focus on the disease and focus on how to fix it.
Yeah.
Work the problem, as we say.
Yeah.
This article actually talks a little bit about the numbers in Australia. The total number of infections in a country of 25 million people has been 28,000. I
Wow.
mean, 28,000 total. We see that in what,
Couple
A
two
days.
and a
few
half hours?
hours. Yeah, a few hours.
A few hours? The total they have seen 909 deaths.
That's
Um,
amazing.
so yeah, North Carolina here surpasses that every 10 days. Just here in North Carolina, much less around the country. I think country, it would be a third of a day, roughly.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're
And again,
talking
you're
to every.
talking a country that is what, 1/10 our population or a little less than that, but it's not like it's I don't know. Australia is a big country and there's lots of people there and there's big cities. Sydney is a huge city.
Mhm.
They're not having the same problems we are because they're taking
Yeah.
it seriously.
Well,
Yeah.
the article goes on to say it's attributed to the closed borders, the widespread compliance of social distancing
No.
rules, hooray, and aggressive testing and tracing programs.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, Australia is culturally a lot different. We speak the same
Yeah, they are.
language,
That's
but
true.
there's a lot of difference between America and basically any other English speaking nation. We are a different group of people, and we used to think that was really the greatest strength we had, and now it's starting to feel like, man, we could use a little more camaraderie. I know we're all independent, fight for yourself, fight the
Yeah.
things, carry the weapons kind of group, but it's getting we could use a little more. We could use a little more love and hugs, just a few more
Could.
hugs. But
My
thanks, Paul W, for sending that in. I appreciate the conversation today.
You're awesome.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you just mentioned that, because my counterparts that I speak with almost on a daily basis, they are absolutely enthralled with the American perspective, because it's like watching a soap opera to them. They love
Oh,
to
I
hear
imagine.
about it. And they can't get enough of it. Every time I get on a phone with somebody, they're like, "Oh, tell me about it, please. I want to hear all about it."
It's because we are a soap opera. We spend you are the people you hang out with, and Americans hang out with reality television. And
Mhm.
that has become we are keeping the company of fools, and we deserve it. Because if that's the world that we see, that's the world we create. We're a bunch of flippin' Kardashians, and everybody's really excited to watch us. We laugh at them. They're just the worst. the rest of the world looks at us like, what, you guys all right over there? I have people from across the world going, you guys okay? I saw everything happening on TV. Are you getting murdered? And it's like, no, that's like way over there somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's given me a large change in perspective when it comes to seeing news of other uprisings in other countries. I'm like, there's surely people out about 10 miles out from wherever that's happening going, dang, people went nuts today. But we just automatically assume it's an entire society has just lost their minds. And I'm like, nah,
Right. Well,
there's people out there
that's
just
what we're
trying to
told
eat
too.
breakfast and watch TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's
And are
exactly
having the
what's
same conversation the three of us are having, going, "Did you see what happened 10 miles up the road?"
Yeah.
Oh
Did
my
you see the
goodness.
ridiculous display today? I go back to Henry Rollins, dude. I listened to an interview with that guy of lead singer of Black Flag for a time, and he's a public speaker. Henry Rollins, super cool dude. He's like, I've been all over the world. He's like, I've been in war zones. I've been in Iraq at the height of the war. He's like, the scariest place I've ever been is Los Angeles. It's like, I've been to Iraq and Iran and talked to people. We're all like, he said, basically, people go, our governments. Am I right? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, people are so cool. He said, but you know, they're scary places. But he's like, none of them are overseas where I've been. Like, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of Black Flag and black markets, we'll go a little segue here.
Nice.
Coming to a
Okay.
black market near you, COVID-19 vaccines. So the rollout of the vaccine has been debated as to how good it's been, but there is the potential to lay the groundwork for rich and or politically connected people to use their money and their influence to jump the line and get vaccines before anyone else. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has already threatened to impose fines of up to $1 million and revoke the licenses of doctors, nurses, and others who don't follow state and federal vaccine distribution guidelines, which currently place a priority on inoculating frontline healthcare workers and nursing home residents. There have been reports in Miami of big hospital donors getting the first crack of the vaccine, and in New York of tycoons flying their friends down to Florida to get inoculated with doses earmarked for a retirement home. Colorado, there's teachers crying foul, after nurses and educators in wealthier public school districts are getting things before them. We're hearing some politicians, some trustees of big hospitals, and others getting shots ahead of healthcare workers and elderly people. Andrew Kaplan, New York University's Grossman School of Medicine, and he's a bioethicist. I'm also hearing that some um, drug manufacturing distribution companies are saying that as soon as the government contracts are filled, they're going to make getting vaccines for themselves a priority. So anything that's seen as life saving, life preserving, and that's in short supply creates black markets, he says. Jonathan Cushing of Transparency International, which is an anti corruption watchdog, has given out some similar warnings back in November. The vaccine is likely to have a high street value, making government supplies an attractive target for theft and diversion unless adequate safeguards are built into supply chains, he wrote. He did say that so far they haven't seen any issues, but the potential is there, and that's really what they're worried about: is the potential of some black market stuff and some shady business going on.
Well, I'm
Capitalism.
thinking we got a Fast and the Furious movie plot just
Yeah, we
unrolling
do.
in front of us because we can get some cars and drive in between those trucks and we can just
Yeah,
load them up, baby.
that's right.
Load
All
up
right.
them
So
Need
how
to.
vaccines.
long?
I
How
need to
long
get my
do you think
workout
until we
on so
get?
I can look like Vin Diesel.
There you go.
Yeah, you got this.
Honestly, though, how long do you think it'll take before we see the first kind of blockbuster action movie that's dealing with some sort of vaccine dosage for a major pandemic as the MacGuffin?
Um,
Ah,
I think that's the
well,
plot of Indiana Jones 5 you just brought up there.
or
Could be.
Mission Impossible 2. Wasn't that Mission Impossible 2?
Yeah, it was the Chimera virus.
The
Yeah.
Chimera
They
virus. That's right.
created
They
it and they
did, but
had the
they
antidote
they
for it.
had the virus and the
Yeah, that's true. So it's not
so
one to one
it was
comparison.
trying to not quite the same comparison.
Yeah.
I'm just
Right.
curious. I'm curious when we're going to see something like that in an actual Hollywood film.
Well, we've already got two movies coming out that are based on the quarantine. Michael Bay made one called Songbird.
That's gonna
Uh,
have lots of explosions, lots of boats, and lots of
Attractive
um,
ladies.
attractive
Uh,
ladies that are scantily
yeah,
clad.
go Michael Bay.
Yeah,
Giant
that's Michael
turd.
Bay.
It's real hard watching Transformers in our new woke environment. You realize that like you're like, I thought this was cool. This is so objectifying. It's really wild. But yeah, so he made Songbird, and then there's another one coming out with Anne Hathaway and Chiwetel Ejiofor. I can't pronounce his
I saw
name.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
with
a
it, they're
heist movie.
stealing something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a heist movie taking place during quarantine.
I
I
will
mean,
watch that because Chiwetel Ejiofor is in it, and I'll
sure.
watch anything he's in. That dude is amazing.
He's a
So
real good
I'll see
actor.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
and I
is.
used to have a crush on Anne Hathaway, so those two things go together, I suppose.
Used to, still do. That ain't changed, man.
Yep. But yeah, that's the news, guys. That's it. We done did it. But we do have vaccine talk. We've talked a little bit about it already. Is there anything left vaccine wise that we haven't covered?
Well, there's the different types of vaccines that I don't think we've really chatted about too much. And that was something that I wanted to bring up, but I don't know if we want to just try to do half hour power an hour later, or if we want to try to chat a little bit about what types of vaccines are available, and
Yeah.
maybe just have that kind of a quick discussion. But it's up to you guys.
We can probably come back to it. We got so for the audio listeners, we got a real late start today due to some audio issues, and I have a Frankenstein set up over here right now, just holding the boat together. But I think we have gone through a little bit of vaccine talk in the past. What's the difference between the protein one, and the mRNA one was?
Mhm.
Yeah,
You
we
went
did
over
that.
you went over the efficacy a little bit earlier, and how 60% isn't really 60%.
Yeah.
There's not enough data to really to show what the actual dosage should be, but they've got ideas of this dose gets you 60, this dose gets you up to 90, and that's where you want to be. Um,
Well, the other thing I wanted to bring up about the Oxford AstraZeneca one is it's actually not the protein subunit
it's
vaccine.
not
It's not. It's actually called a viral vector vaccine. Um,
okay.
yeah. So basically, they have a viral a virus that they put this in, and they put the fragments in, and then inject the virus, and the virus goes into the. It's a I think a chimpanzee virus is what they're using for this
Oh, that
vector.
sounds safe.
Yeah. And I mean,
Uh,
it is. The Ebola vaccine was created this way,
yeah, I've
but
seen
that basically
Outbreak.
triggers the immune response, and then it creates more of a natural infection.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
so it's similar but a little bit different. It's called viral vectors.
Was the
So
so which one is the protein one that we're wait? Is that the Johnson and Johnson guy? Is that one of these
no,
others that isn't in the?
Johnson. So the viral vector is being used by Johnson and Johnson. It's being used by Oxford and AstraZeneca. It's being used by Russia, the Gamaleya, the Sputnik 5. It's also being used by one of the major leading Chinese one, the CanSino. So those are all viral vectors. Um, the whole virus one is Sinovac. That's the Chinese one that you'll probably hear about in the news. It's got really high efficacies, but that's an inactivated. So they take the whole virus, they kill the virus, and then they inject you with it.
Yeah.
Um, and that's I think Sinovac is the one, and that's the one that I think has about 90% efficacy in some of the studies that they're doing in China right now. Um, Obviously, the nucleic acid ones, the DNA one, or the mRNA ones, the Moderna and the Pfizer one. Um, and then the protein ones are created by two companies, Novavax and it's not Lilly, it's a Sanofi. That's who it is, Sanofi. Um, but yeah, that's the protein subunit one. Um, and then there's a live virus I want to say that's also being worked on,
So what
and I
the
can't
bottom
remember what
line
it
is,
is.
there's going to be a plentiful array of viruses, much like
Yeah,
craft beer.
yeah,
You'll be able to walk into Kroger and get your own. Probably not likely for a long time before these things are like, are you're at choice level. Well, which one
yeah,
would you like? Would you like to do the mRNA or whatever? And most likely, your doctor's going to prescribe a particular one to you, and you're just going to accept it because your doctor tells you what to do.
yep,
Unless there's a clear bit of info or data they have that says, well, you've got this, so I'd recommend you doing this other one. But it's going to be a long time before we get any level of data there. Jacob,
yeah.
does this virus go away?
Does it go away?
Ever.
Yeah.
It goes
I
away.
mean, There was a question in chat by Og earlier, and he was like, "Well, these new strains that are coming out, are we going to be protected against them if we take the vaccine or if we've had COVID?" And the answer is most likely. I mean, if you look at Moderna and Pfizer, and they've been asked the same questions, and they've all came out and said it's a high probability that you're going to maintain your protection. So in my mind, it doesn't mutate as quickly as let's say like the flu. It's a very compressed virus, so there's less opportunity for I feel like a ton of external mutations that would cause some of the issues that I think we see in flu. Flu is a very open type of system, so it's got a lot of opportunity there for mutations. So in my mind, maybe it might come back. Maybe it might be more like a cold where you have to get a vaccine every couple of years, and you might get more of a cold like symptom. But I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. But right now, I'm pretty optimistic relative to this. I mean, I haven't seen it mutate really quickly, so overall, I'm pretty hopeful that number one, the immunity will last, but number two, it won't mutate as quickly.
Well, here's to hoping. I think that's what we that's the theme on the show. The hope keeps running. We all have things we want to do. We all have places we want to be that's not in our house, and to go to the grocery store safely is a dream.
Oh,
To go to go back in Target and just wander. Not that I need to buy anything, but just to wander. I haven't looked in a store casually in a long time. And I'm an American. Consumerism is my religion, and
Steven,
I miss it.
Target. Speaking of Target, your son. So I used to take Sam out on Tuesdays for Chick-fil-A. Ashley and I took him out, and we used to grab some just Chick-fil-A nuggets and just sit there, and he would play in the play park, and we would just have a good time together. And then we would always ask him what he wanted to do after Chick-fil-A, because we'd spend an hour with him or so afterward just to either play or go do something fun, just the three of us. And he would always want to go to Target,
That's
always
his
want to
jam.
walk around the store at Target. And I longed for those days. I pined for those days. I'm like, man, what it would give to think about the Chick-fil-A and just walk around the store at Target. I used to get so frustrated going, why are we going to Target? Now I'm like, I'd give anything to go to Target.
He loves that
Hey,
store, man.
I'm with Sam, man. Target was my jam when I was a kid because they had the display with a working Super NES and Sega Genesis, and I just
Yep.
we'd be at our local mall where there was a Target was an anchor store, and I was like, I'll be in Target, and I would just take off there. I was either there or the arcade. If I didn't have any money, I was just in Target.
Yep. That was what we did. We'd go to Target, look at Transformers, then we'd go
Yep,
over and he'd play the Switch. Even though he had the game at home, somehow it was better at Target,
it's more
and
fun there.
we'd play. And I was very blessed to have a kid that only ever pitched one fit, and it was because he got too hungry. But generally, you're like, Sam, we can't buy anything. We're just gonna look. And if he did start to get a little wonky, you take a picture of it and be like, I have it on a list now. Okay, good. Take a picture of this one too. All right, got it on a list. And we just walk out of the store like a boss. You got to have your life hacks. Tell your kids
That's a good one.
you're gonna put it on the list. Take a picture. They're much more happy with that. It's a
And
good
then
pro
they'll
tip.
forget it exists until the next time they walk into Target. Dad, you
Exactly.
said.
Perfect.
Yeah. Oh gosh, if Sam was just
Still
a
on the
little
list.
forgetful, just a
Oh,
little
he's not.
forgetful.
He's too smart for that,
Members
Steven.
flipping
You are
everything.
blessed and cursed.
He'll ask me stuff he did when he was 2. He's like, "Are we ever gonna do that?" I'm like, "How do you even remember that? What is wrong with you? Why are you?" Gosh, stop it. But anyway, this has been a fun show. We've had a good time. Thanks again to Paul for the notes for the Aussie report. I think he said he was interested in calling in or sending us an MP3 of some thoughts. So we might look forward to that. Yeah, it's Paul's super cool.
Yes, absolutely.
We got no mail this week. We did check the inbox. If you want to email us, you can do so. It's staring at goats podcast at gmail.com. Leave us a voicemail. Travis has a voicemail line. You can call a phone number. If you're like old school and you just want to dial your rotary phone, 231 486 5401. 231 486 5401 is how you do that.
Standard rates do apply.
Yeah, standard. Yeah, please check your
But please call
whatever.
us. We want to hear from you. We want
do, we
to
do.
hear your wonderful voices and let us know what you're thinking.
Yep. We want to hear. If you like the show, as always, leave us a review. That'd be awesome. You can follow us on Twitter at staring_goats. I don't post there, but it's a great place to send me quick questions if you got them. I'm also on Twitter as Steve H&H, and Travis is TV's Travis. You can also find TV's Travis doing his wonderful movie show, Wait You Haven't Seen, which you should check out because it's fantastic. Thanks to everyone who supports us on Patreon. Hammer Dwarf, Jesse, new patron. Jesse
Woo-hoo!
has officially decided to support the show. So thank you, Jesse, for the cash money. We appreciate your support. So Hammer Dwarf, Jesse, Og, Adam and Christina of Geekheim, Oddly Normal One, and our parents. You can go support us. Join them at twodorks.net/support to get to pitch us a buck if you like the stuff we make. You guys are amazing, and we'll see you next time on Staring at Goats.
Man.
All right, we made it.
Boom.
Woo!
So
Made it
sorry,
through.
sorry for that late start. That sucked.
No,
Well,
absolutely fine.
One of these nights, we just got to sit down, get together, sit down, and try to sort this thing out.
Yeah.
Just find a night that you don't have anything going on, which, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Guys,
it's weird. It's been go ahead, Jake.
No, go ahead. It's weird. It's been what?
It's been working. It works with everything until I fire up Discord, and then it just absolutely falls over, and I can't figure it out. I don't know if it's Discord. And what's weird is it was fine talking to people on the stream, and then when I fired up Discord with you guys, it got choppy for them. And I'm just
Yeah.
wondering if it's a voice meter problem, or if it's a Discord problem, or like am I overloading it somehow? I've just got some things to work out. And that's it's frustrating because this is, I mean, it wasn't a cheap audio interface. It's supposed to be really great.
And I know a lot of people that use it, so I don't think it's the audio interface. There's something in the chain. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'll
We
find
just got to set some time aside, and we can do a screen share, and we can just beat it into submission.
Makes me glad I didn't sell this giant mixer over here.
Yeah.
I had it in spare. I gave you my blue icicle, Jacob. I think you've got the
You
blue
did.
icicle, and then we upgraded to that Shure one so you could hear yourself.
Yep.
But you've
Oh,
as soon
right.
as I got upstairs, I was like, shoot, I gave that to Jacob.
Yep. I'm staring right at it right now.
Awesome.
After you left, that was the first thought that went through my head. You were already upstairs. I'm like, shoot, I don't think he's gonna be able to find this. We might be in trouble.
Nah.
And I understand it too because I've got everything working, so I'm deathly afraid of even restarting my computer for fear that it's going to break something.
Yeah. Oh, it
I'm like,
scares
no,
me.
if I don't touch it, if I don't think about it, nothing can change.
Yep. Good deal.
So I have a question for you guys. How many episodes do you think we're gonna do?
Oh man,
This
we
was
do need to start making that
41.
bet.
This is 41. We need to start making that bet.
90.
Oh wow. So you're thinking another 9-10 months of this.
Well, yeah. Well, no, wait. I guess that is a lot more months. I was trying to think in terms of weeks, and we're not that many weeks out from like June.
I mean,
July.
yeah, I want to kind of ballpark it at around 65. So, middle of the year, June-ish, June, July.
Oh,
when we're
Mellows, we
finally able
called
to
it
kinda
Staring at Goats
wind it
because
down.
Lando used to be on the show. Lando's a good friend of ours, the original co-host. He owned a goat farm, and we were casually having conversations about COVID, and he said, "I'm just gonna sit here and stare at my goats, figure out which one to eat first." And so we called it Staring at Goats because we just imagine sitting on the back porch staring at goats chatting about COVID.
At deciding which one we're going to go kill and eat
Yeah,
because we
which
have no
one gets
access
eaten
to
first?
a grocery store.
Yeah.
Yep. But then Landon got busy traveling the world,
Right.
doing whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
Where is he
Landon's
now? Where?
he's drinking
Where was?
scotch somewhere in Thailand, I think.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. So you're stuck with me. Sorry.
Oh no.
It's great. Um, No, somebody said I look so depressed when somebody said 90. You're right. It's if we make it to 90 and we're still talking about this on a daily or a weekly basis in October, November timeframe, yeah, I think that would be probably the most depressing. So I'm going to hold out hope and say we're going to end at the end of the summer. August will be one of our last episodes, and we might have some follow-ups. We might have some um you know I don't know, reunion type of things where we bring some other people on and chat about things in their neck of the woods. But I want to say the end of the summer is what I'm hoping for.
Okay, so not too far after what I'm kind of predicting.
Yeah, I'm thinking August, right before school starts or right around school starts.
Oh, that'd be nice. I could go
Yeah,
for that.
I'd be down for that.
Yeah.
Not that I
Yep.
don't like coming and hanging out every Wednesday night, but maybe if we could do
No,
it not having to talk about COVID every week would be
right.
better.
And Wednesday's trivia night too. So when we can go back to trivia night, we're gonna have to stop the show
Yes,
That's
that's
true.
true.
because it's our Wednesday night ritual
Yep.
once a month or so.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to figure that out. But there's other nights. Then we can start other fun stuff, and then we'll go to Dragon Con. We'll have a beer
So
there.
and
Yes.
the reason why I ask is because I am so looking forward to the day that we can do a podcast on something fun.
Mm.
Because my podcast bandwidth is one night, and
Yeah.
right now this is my podcast bandwidth, right?
Mhm.
And I would love to have a discussion about what fun things we could do as opposed to what COVID related things that we could do.
Well, we're no shortage of interests. That's for sure. I think we can figure something out.
I think so,
Yeah.
for sure.
Anyway,
Yep. Anyway, let's find somebody to rate. I actually found Almost Daily Pod, which is our friends Charles McFall, Phil Keating, and
oh,
Tony
nice.
P. And Mike and Swan. I don't know them, but I think we should rate them because they're our buds.
Let's rate them. They're
I
our
didn't know they had
friends.
a. I didn't know they
Drag-
did this today. So they're getting a
Profile.
raid
Rate
from
them, baby.
us. Those guys are cool. They're all our Dragon Con buddies. We've actually hung out with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, say hello. Raid, 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 raid. You guys are awesome, and
Woo.
we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.